Hello and welcome back to this episode of Namaste Y'all with Dr. B. I am so excited to dive into this topic today because if you've been on the internet long enough, you've seen all of these podcast episodes dedicated to talking about romantic relationships and love and dating and finding the one and 50-50 and all of these inflammatory conversations that take place that get so many clicks and likes. But I think it's so important for us to talk about one of the most important relationships we can nurture over the course of our lives, and that is our friendships. And so today, I have brought on one of my very dearest friends for more than 20-ish years now to dive into this topic, because especially when it comes to women, we see so many different accounts of either women that love and nurture their female friendships, or people that say, I don't fool with women because they messy and this, and they have all of this hurt around broken down friendships. And so I think it's so important for us to dive into this topic today and really take some time to reconsider not only how we nurture our friendships, but really what the importance of them are in sustaining us as we navigate the different seasons of life. So if you would help me welcome my very special guest today, Tish Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, this is the third season and you've been here every time. But this time it's just me and her.
Yes.
Because, Tish kind of proctors herself, in so many different people's relationship stuff that I had her on like as a relationship coach a couple times. And then this time I said, well, we're going to talk this year. We're going to talk about you and me, baby.
Yes.
That's what we're going to talk about. So if you would take a second to just tell the people who you are, introduce yourself, and we'll dive in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tish Johnson. You can find me on my social media platforms at t.shontae. That's SHONTAE. I am an entrepreneur. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am all things. I wear many hats. But today we're talking about friendship, and I'm so happy to be here with my very best friend of over 21 years now. So, yeah, it's been 21 years.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, been a long time.
Okay, so let's dive into the beginning, okay? And we're gonna talk about quite a bit of things, but I like to start with this beginning about like how we became friends, which at the beginning, you know what I mean?
It was a little rocky at the beginning. It was a little rocky.
Okay, so me and Tish met in college, right? Mm-hmm. And so what do you remember? I remember we lived in Moody Towers.
Mm-hmm. We lived on campus in the dorms.
Yes.
And I remember at the time, our boyfriends were friends.
Okay, yes. They were on the football team.
Yes, they were on the football team. Our boyfriends were friends. And because they were always together, we eventually kind of ran into each other. And I remember seeing you and just always being like, oh, she's pretty. I think, first impressions you notice about someone. I'm like, oh, she's pretty. Oh, okay. Well, she's, kind of from where I'm from. We grew up around the same areas. And that's really what I remember. I remember our boyfriends being friends. I remember seeing you. But I also remember, I think you were hanging around some people that I was just kind of like, I don't know. So, it took a while for you to grow on me.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I think I remember us staying in the towers. I remember meeting you, and then I remember my first impressions being around. You seemed very much, what's the right word to use?
Standoffish?
Not
what?
That. It was the guy. Okay, so the guy that she was dating at the time. I wasn't fond of that man.
Right.
He was friends with the guy I was dating at the time though. And so I felt like you were cool, but you were also like isolated almost. So it was like in the towers, like we as freshmen, we might be all doing a thing and like it's a social thing and it's da-da-da. And you was kind of like out the way, like tucked out.
Very much so.
Keeping baby in the corner. He was trying to keep baby in the corner.
He was trying to keep baby in the corner. Very much so.
So that's what I remember. But, we ended up being cool, and then came Delta. Mm-hmm. And then we both ended up online together.
Yes.
Well, we pledged and became
that almost didn't happen.
And now this why I really should be your best friend, because
that almost didn't happen.
Because she almost wasn't gonna be a Delta. Rush was coming and Tish was heading out of town.
I was getting ready to go home to Dallas.
And she's like, oh, well, I'm not going to be there for Rush, but if you just pick me up a packet.
Pick me up a packet.
Like, it's not how it works.
Stephanie was like, no, I can't do that. You have to be there. Like, I can't just pick
They
up a packet.
won't let you be one if you don't come. And so she ended up coming. And it was up from there, you know. But I think one of the earliest things I realized about you, Tish, that I really have always loved is for all the bark that you have, you know, and all this. I'm from Pleasant Grove, pow, pow, pow. Her line ain't Gunsmoke, by the way. Pow, pow, pow. There was always this underlying current of sweetness that Tish had, which I feel like was the reason why old dude was trying to keep baby in the corner in the first place, because he didn't want nobody to experience that and give him a run for his money.
Yeah.
But I ended up giving him a run for his money. And, as a friend. And so we ended up finding out later on there was a rift between us after we had started to get cool. And we ended up learning later on he had said some things to her to make her think that I wanted him or something so that he could kind of distance her from me.
Anyone that got close to me, he wanted to distance me from them. Even with Delta, you about to pay for friends? You about to, I didn't think you were that type of person. You paying for friends? Imagine that this person also went on to be Greek.
And crossed. Did he cross before us?
After
us. Ended up crossing too and paying for friends.
So had I listened to that, and Stephanie was the main one that was like, what are you doing? Like, don't listen to that. Don't listen to that.
What? Pay for friends. Like, we first generation college students.
Right.
We networking, we trying to build, we trying to make sure we have some jobs after this. We trying to, and at our campus, like the Deltas ran the yard. Like they were the heads of all the organizations and anything. And so it's like, we out here trying to make moves. Like we in college, but you came to college with him. And I think that was a thing for him to have you over there. Yes. And so the point, because it ain't about him
at all,
is that I feel like friendships have the power to liberate us. You know what I mean? Because it's like somebody saying, well, hey, like you don't have to do, like, hey, you don't have, hey, look, there's a whole world over here. Like you want to come and do it. But I think really it just goes to love, which is the underlying current of the show, right? It's like we think about love and the romantic love is this big, like fantastic goal. But I'm like, so many ways our love shows up and sustains us. Right. Even when I think about that. So then you did pledge and then we became Lawn Sisters, and then that person crossed too, and you know, and so then I think that manipulation can only go as far as, you know, those limitations are there.
Right, and I think that's the importance of having those friendships around you, because when you have people that love you that are on the outside, they can see things that you can't see. Right? So all the things that you may have said to me or any of the other Line Sisters may have said to me, I never considered those things. Imagine, you know, this person was my fiance at the time. We went to college together. So they were my world. And I'm listening to everything that they're saying. I never considered any of the things that you were saying. Like, well, you know, do you realize that you just stay in the house? You don't go anywhere. You don't do anything. But he's always out and doing stuff and moving around, and like you don't see where this manipulation is coming in, and I couldn't see it.
Yeah,
I couldn't see it.
Because I had a boyfriend too, but you know, I was just, hey, I'm at the SPB, I'm at the, you know what I'm saying? Like we were out like doing all the stuff. Right. You know, like it don't have to be that way. Like you can love him and have him, and like we can still be doing college because it's happening. And even to say like, and there's not like, and not be doing anything mischievous. So like, there's not anything wrong with it, or like we going outside to cheat. Like it's like you can still have these two. No, he said you can't have both of them. You can. Freedom is here. I'm not here to tell me. Freedom is here. But yeah.
I do believe that my college experience would have been much different had I not had you to kind of help me see that, hey, it's another way. Like you don't have to stay in this situation.
Yeah, us got us freedom.
Give us freedom.
The ancestors didn't fight for us to be enslaved by a man. No, okay, we're gonna move forward because we talking about friendship. But that's the beauty of it, you know what I mean? And that it's like, and then when you do give somebody a nudge, it's like, and I'll be here. Like if this goes wrong, I'm not just saying do a thing.
Right.
love is all around you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Your family loves you. They're going to be here. Your friends going to be here. And I think that's the love that sustains us. And so we came through that season, college, we graduated, we were roommates, not too long after that. And then while we were roommates, you met your now husband.
Yes. Of 14 years.
14 years.
14 years.
They just had an anniversary
Yes.
yesterday. And so
Yes.
even when I call, say happy anniversary, I'm like, put my brother on the phone. Thank you for dealing with her for all of these years.
Very good.
Because, ooh, bless your heart.
Because I'm a handful.
And he told me one time, if you feel like it's too much, you can just get off the phone. I live here. And I said, you right, brother. And I love you for that. And every day, taking care of my sister. But I remember when y'all started dating. And we were both dating while we lived there together. And I remember how the same way that I give a nudge when I felt like that person was not loving you well.
Yes.
When I saw Chris show up and how he showed up, I feel like also there was a nudge in that direction. Like, okay,
Hey.
like,
Oh, I think I like him.
he all right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I remember one time, I feel like I made y'all some mimosas
You
and
did.
stuff. Y'all he came
It
for
was
the
like
weekend.
breakfast in bed and mimosas.
I made some breakfast. Y'all want some? Some mimosas. Y'all want some? Very good. Keep this.
She was trying to make sure he didn't go anywhere.
Keep this man. Because if he know how to love you well, bring him into the equation. If he don't, subtract him.
Yeah.
But
And I think that's really important because you have a lot of women that will think that, and not to say that there aren't friends that are jealous of relationships when they see that their girlfriend is in something and they may not have that. They can be, but you have to be able to discern who is and who isn't because, you know, when you have people on the outside that are telling you, you know, well, this just doesn't seem like it's the best fit for you. Sometimes those people are genuinely telling you something that you can't see for yourself. It has nothing to do with jealousy or envy. It has to do with them being able to see the things that you can't see. And vice versa, when you saw Chris come in and you like, well, he treats you really well and you seem very happy. I've seen you in a lot of relationships and I haven't seen you this happy. And he comes from a good family and he has good values and good morals. You were very much pushing me towards that. You know what I mean? So
I was very much supporting it. As
Yes.
a friend. Would y'all like some breakfast?
Yes.
I made some eggs.
yes.
Because right before him was a very toxic relationship with another guy. And it was like, in every season, I think, like you're saying, like some friends, they might give their opinion. I think for me, especially as we've grown, the idea is not even about my opinion, but it's like for your life.
Yes.
And like for your happiness. And like I'm looking at you. Like I remember towards the end of that toxic relationship you were in, we were on a FaceTime call and you were cleaning up.
I remember.
And I was just,
I remember.
you know, and I remember being just like, well, how you feeling? You know, because it's not about what I think and what I want, but it's like when you see somebody that you love and you know where they could be and what they could experience, you also know that the only thing hold us back from that is our own choices. And there's nothing you can do to expedite it and be like, let me fast forward to the part where you realize this man is trash.
Can we get to the good part,
Can
please?
we get, you can't, because you got to go down through there.
Right.
And I feel like it was tricky because the only couple of relationships that I had 2 relationships in college, and both of those men came from solid families. They both were commitment minded. They both wanted to be married to me. They both wanted to, and so like there was some toxicity that I feel like you experienced early on that I had not experienced before. And I'm just like, girl, let us fast forward. This man is terrible.
Right.
But also you have to go through that journey and then being able to give you, I feel like that was a time in our trajectory where we had distance because it was like, I can't save her.
Right.
I can't go like, y'all had a thing one time and you left. And then you had gone back and then there was a thing the next time and I said, I'm not going. And nothing hurt. It's almost like we hear parents be like, they had to let their kids go to jail or something.
They had to be
It's kind of how I felt like, because the next time one of our friends called and was like, hey, she's about to leave. And I said, I'm not going. And if y'all want to go, you can. But this is where she is. Like, and this is what she has decided to do. And until she's done doing it, there's nothing your friendship can't save it. You can pray and you can answer the phone and listen and get off the phone and be like, that's what, and you're going to stay for that?
Right.
And until they decide not to, they are.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that's important too, because I think some people feel like, you hear on the internet, they'll be like, they cut people off. Like, I don't deal with them because this, because that, you know? But I think friendships have times where there's distance in a certain season I can look at, and it's painful, and you miss, like, you know?
I completely understand what you're saying. And I think if you want the friendship to continue, there are times where you may have to distance yourself, especially if someone that you love, if they are involved in something that you know is not healthy for them, that you can see is tearing them down internally. Because you love that person, it's hard for you to continue to be involved, to have a front row seat to what's going on with them.
To their misery.
Right, to their misery.
Yes.
And so it's easier to just take a step back. It doesn't mean that you stop loving the person. It doesn't mean that you completely remove yourself from their lives, but you just have to take a step back and allow them to get through that season that they're in. And also letting them know that you're going to be there whenever they're ready.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't think I ever felt like you weren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was over here like, hey, I'm over here. But at the end of the day, I feel like we've gone through so many iterations now. You know, I'm big 40. She gonna be 40 this year. You know what I mean? And so we've gone through so many different seasons that I say now we have longitudinal data that we can look back at, and now we can laugh at stuff that, you know, you couldn't laugh at then.
Yes.
But now we've had to go through the other side of this journey where I've been married and divorced, and then I've experienced in my dating journey some things where I'd be like, oh, it's really people out here like that. Look at this. And I have to call Tish almost daily.
Daily?
I'll call daily multiple times a day, but usually at least on a dating update, at least, you know, when I am trying, I have to call it just because I'll be...
She's always, her flabbers are always gassed. And I'm like,
they do that.
They do that.
I'm like, can you believe?
And you know what? I think that goes to show just the different seasons.
Yeah.
So I went through this season very early on in my life with, can I cuss? Can we cuss?
You can cuss if you need to.
I went through the bullshit early, right?
That's
so now as a 40-year-old, like when I tell you my life is so peaceful, like I don't enjoy the toxicity. I don't revel in, I don't want it, right? My life is so peaceful. But I dealt with some things in my early 20s that would have people clutching their pearls, right?
Yeah.
And so when Stephanie calls and she's like, can you believe? I can.
I'll be like, because my thing
I
is,
can believe it.
I won't participate in it. I think we're old enough now to where I won't participate in a certain level of stupid with a person. But the fact that they're even offering it, I have to call because can you believe that this person?
Can. I can. And what's funny, so she says that she doesn't participate in it, and I agree. But sometimes she will entertain it because she just can't believe it. So she will at least listen. And she comes back with the full story. Like he actually, yeah, I know.
Sir,
I know he did.
I had a whole brain that can think, and I can see. I hear what you say, but I see what you do, sir. Yep. And when these things, can you? Yes. And then on top of that, you've also helped me to understand, as it relates to women. I feel like my purview is a little smaller in terms of I have about this many friends, y'all, right? And so I've seen quite a bit, but also I think when I talk to you, sometimes you put things in perspective in terms of like, well, there's women out here doing that. And I'll be like, I'm very confused because if I look, especially like my closest friends, like y'all are all married for the most part. You know, some of my closer friends are not married or whatever, but even then the amount of stuff that they would allow or into, like, it's like I'm not around people where it's just like, yeah, he was married, but he paid my bills, so and it's like, what? But it's people out here. So when there has been time, let's say a married man slid in my DMs, I'm gonna call Tish and be like, girl, can you believe he talking about some, wait, what are you, sir, you post about your wife yesterday? Yes. And they out, and people are out here doing these things or taking minimum efforts from men and like just to have them around, just happy. And so I think our friendship also becomes a mirror in that way, because then when I am having a moment where like, am I tripping or does this? I will call. And it provides opportunity for accountability.
Right.
Because even if there is something that I'm kind of like, you know, you could be like, no, he could have did better than that. Or like you know, and it's good to have that mirror too when you are for the first time navigating stupidity. Like, oh, I think, did this sound dumb to you? Because this really sound dumb. Am I being too hard?
Right.
Am I being too, and there are times where you have told me, Stephanie, can you just give him a chance? Because my block list real long.
Oh baby, she'll block real fast, and I'm like, well, hold on, was that really a blockable offense? Like, let's talk about it.
Blockable to me, and maybe it's an unblocked and communicated offense. You know what I mean? But having that perspective, as opposed to having people around you that will just accept and entertain anything. I think like the most evolved version of who we hope to be, I think we can only get there by way of the quality of the people around us.
That you surround yourself
with. You know, they say
absolutely.
You are, what's the thing they say?
What,
you
like
are
the company you keep, or
like
that's the same.
Show me the 4 people around you and I'll show you yourself, something like that.
Same thing as birds of a feather. You know
Flock
what
together.
You know what they used to say. But that's I agree. And I think when we're talking about friendship, it's important to have people around you that are willing to hold you accountable. And we talk about this whole accountability thing and, well, you in my business, or you judging me. Judgment is completely different from accountability, right?
Okay, let's talk about that, because I come from a very judgmental family dynamic where it was because of the way I felt like I was judged being raised in Black church, and like it was very like, that was the way that I used to interact with people, especially people around me that I love. So even in a situation with you and a dude, like to me, it might just be pretty clear cut. Like, is you stupid? Like, if you're gonna go back over there and let this man do that, then he gonna do it. And that level of judgment, which doesn't help anybody.
Right.
It doesn't make them feel supported or cared for or loved. It's not coming from a loving place. I had to do work to heal that to the point where we can have an accountability conversation. But it's not for me to be the judge on what somebody is doing and if it's right or wrong. Or
because we have to realize that our experiences are going to be different. Our backgrounds are different, how we grew up, how, the things that we were taught to do in relationships, whether they be platonic or romantic relationships. We all experienced something different.
Right.
So what may be cut and dry to you, well, that's stupid, I would never. That may not be my experience. That may not be how I was raised. I may have been raised to be a little more forgiving or a little more understanding, or, well, let's talk about it. Help me to understand why you did what you did or what you were thinking, and maybe we can get past it. Whereas someone else may have been brought up as soon as when you see a red flag, you gone. You know what I mean? So we all have different experiences and different ways of handling situations. So it's never our place to say, well, that's stupid, you're dumb, or I would never do that, because maybe you wouldn't. But your experiences are not my experiences, right? So having that level of understanding to say, okay, maybe this is just a part of my friend's journey. I'm going to be here to love her through it, to talk her through it for whatever it is that she may need, while also understanding that we're individuals and we have different experiences, and that's okay.
Right.
She doesn't have to handle a situation in the same way that I would handle it. That's what makes our friendship beautiful and unique, because why would I want to be around a handful of people who I'm calling my girls, my best friends, my people, and we do every single thing alike? Right. You know what I mean? We're all different. Right. So I think it's important to understand and embrace that.
So how do you get to accountability separate from judgment? Because I think that's the reason why people don't like to be authentic and open and transparent. And I feel like the beautiful part of my friendship with you, and I have a few friends I can say this about, where I feel like I can be fully transparent and authentic. You know what I mean? And so I was explaining this to somebody I was speaking to recently about what it means to be admired by people versus respected by people. And I said, I feel like there are people that, like, at a distance, we don't know people, you might admire them. You might feel like, wow, like this, wow. And the more you get to know people authentically, the more you get to choose to love, like, the full spectrum of who they are. So how do you get to that place where you can be transparent and authentic? I think that has to happen before you can have accountability, because some people take accountability to mean you can't tell me what to do. And so if you are living your life that way without accountability, when nobody can, and I don't know if accountability is telling somebody what to do as much as it is.
I don't think that is you telling someone what to do. I think when you are in authentic relationships with people, platonic or romantic, right? They've exposed you to the version of themselves that they would like to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm telling you that I want to be a wife and I want to be a mother and this is how I want my life to look, but then you look at what I'm doing and it doesn't reflect what I've told you I want for myself,
Mm-hmm.
it is okay for you to say something about that. That's not you telling me what to do. That's you saying, well, based on what you've told me, these are your goals. And these actions that you're doing are not going to help you reach those goals. Mm-hmm. If I'm telling you that I want to go back to school to get my PhD, but I haven't looked into any programs, I haven't done any research on where I would like to go. Okay, well, you said you wanted to go back and get your PhD, so when are you going to start the research? Mm-hmm. That's accountability. That's right. Not you telling me what to do. That's me telling you what I want to do and you noticing that I haven't done, that my actions aren't matching with what I said I wanted to do.
Right, right.
So I think that's the difference when you're talking about judgment versus accountability.
Mm-hmm. And accountability, to me, to your point, I think it's more effective if you do it from a place of seeking to understand. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes how somebody's getting to a certain goal may be different than how Absolutely. I would do it. And so when I'm looking at the situation, I'm like, well, that ain't how you get to there. That don't make sense. But if you pull up the life story of 10 people, they got to certain outcomes different. Let's say people became millionaires and the way they did it was 5 different ways. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's more than one way to skin a cat. But when I think really the point is for me as a friend, I'm trying to understand. Mm-hmm. And so I might ask a question. Well, I know you say that your goal is to have this or to have that. Mm-hmm. So like, what's the plan? Mm-hmm. Or like, when are we starting? Are we just chilling right now?
Right.
Because I think it's also something to say. At certain points, we have what we know we want the higher version of ourselves to be.
Right.
What that looks like our vision for our lives. And then we know we have seasons where we're just not there. Mm-hmm. We're just not at our. And so I even like to be like, hey, like, what's going on?
Right.
Or you still thinking about that? Or mm-hmm. like we're not on that right now? Mm-hmm. Or we like that's on the shelf for now? Or right. like, and that's fair too, to be like, I'm just not there. Like, but I think the accountability comes into the, okay, well, it's as long as I can see
right.
This is what you said. This is the goal. And if you're not there, then that's fine too. But I think the beauty of our friendship and the strength of it is in that what I see breaks down with women a lot of times is some people like to avoid stuff mm-hmm. altogether. They want to avoid conflict. They get into it or they have a tiff or a moment where something was off and they don't address it. Mm-hmm. And they just wait, let some time pass mm-hmm. and then just move on.
Yeah, sweep it under the rug.
And I think that's why I got this many friends that really work, because if we have something, we might need some time to process it. Mm-hmm. But the beauty in our friendship, and I think your husband would be like, it's just too much, is that like, if you have a tiff, the Bible says, if you have aught against your brother, you take it to him. Mm-hmm. And one-on-one and talk about it. And mm-hmm. that's been, I feel like the beautiful thing is that you have the space to hold that.
Right.
Because there's some people that, I don't want to talk about it mm-hmm. and I just want to move on. And it's like, no. Because clearly somebody's going to get reoffended right. in the future unless we can air this out.
Right.
And so I think that's been a beautiful part of our friendship as well.
For some people, anything that even resembles confrontation, they steer away from it. But I think when you're talking about a friendship like ours, where we've been friends for 21 years, you're going to have times where you disagree, right? You're going to have times where you bump heads, but it's just about how you problem solve that determines whether or not you'll be able to get over those humps and continue the friendship.
Yeah, because I didn't like how you said that to me.
So I don't think it's no secret that in our friendship, I am the more sensitive one, right? So I'm the more sensitive, and Stephanie is very much like a little tomboy sometimes, right? And so if she says something that's rough or, something that is a bit crass, she can be crass sometimes, I'll tell her, like, well, I don't like the way you said that, or I don't like the way that made me feel. And she will always be reflective and, well, I didn't mean it in that way, or I apologize for how I made you feel. But if I were to allow her to use whatever tone she's using or to feel some type of way and I never addressed it, it would just be resentment that would build up that would eventually pull us apart, right? Just like I'm sure I have some ways about myself to where, it probably gets on her nerves. I know she's called me spoiled multiple times over our 21-year friendship. I don't think I'm that bad, but she said that I'm spoiled.
I should call your husband on the speakerphone.
Your husband is supposed to spoil you.
She's spoiled.
And I was raised by a single parent. I was raised by my dad.
Spoiled her first.
Yes, it was his fault. But I know that that's something that we've bumped heads on before as well. But I don't think, like, you and I have never really had any major.
But let me say this to your point, though, Lon, sister. I feel like both of us, if the objective is, one, that we love each other.
Yes.
And two, that we do want to grow together. As we are maturing as women, these are things that become a mirror to each other. I do want to be softer in my approach with people that I love, especially. I do want to make sure that I'm handling them carefully, especially when I have a moment where I've said something too rough or too like what I call drawing my sword, where I have drawn my sword. I do want to be in a place where, as a woman, I'm more gracious with people and I'm more careful with people. And that has been a journey for me because I know the environment I grew up in, I had to be able to get bucked. Right. I did not have the perception of safety around me. So I had to first learn how to verbally joust as a form of protection, and then physically how to throw my hands when the verbal didn't work, right? And so I know that that's something that I have spent a lot of time having to take off. And it started in college. Right. You're in a safer environment now. Like, you don't necessarily have to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're able to take that off. And so I've been, over time, able to address that, but that's a personal point that I do want to grow. I don't want to hurt my friends by popping off. And it's usually, we usually have tequila when those things have happened.
It's usually tequila involved.
But also, I feel like a part of it has been your evolution too. You were a lot more selfish when we were younger. Yes. It was. Tish said, I don't feel like I don't want to do it. I don't care. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. And that would piss me off because it would be like, for whatever you decided you're not going to do, somebody else is going to do it. Like, if we're having a gathering or we having whatever. But it was like, I don't want to. I don't want to do it. And so as time has gone on, though, you have become more generous and more giving and more thoughtful and mindful. Even today, on the way to the podcast, Tish called me and she said, I'm about 9 minutes away. Did you need anything on the way? Now, that wouldn't happen when we was 20. It would. I'm coming and I'll be there in a minute, and she'll float in and be cute and fabulous, and it wouldn't matter what nobody else needed. But that has been a point of growth, and I feel like you've allowed yourself, just like I've allowed myself, to be open to our friendship. Has been a catalyst for the change because we don't just let it go. My sister, like, that's what?
Right. And I will say that that's one of the generosity and just being thoughtful is not something that I grew up. That wasn't a trait that I grew up around. Right. I think the generosity that I always received from my dad is like, oh, well, you're my parent. Like, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you. So yeah, you're going to be generous. You know what I mean? But in terms of anyone else I was around, I didn't see that. But being friends with Stephanie for so long, I would just always hear her, well, do you need anything? Well, is there anything I can do for you? When I had my kids, she would just come over. She would wash the dishes. She might fold some clothes. She's going to put the baby down for a nap. She's going to come over. Oh, I saw this for my nephew and I thought it would be so cute on him. She's going to bring him an outfit. Just her level of generosity and thoughtfulness is something that I had never experienced before, right? So over the years, when you have good friends, you will eventually, and sometimes it takes people longer than others, but once you start to see those traits, they will start to rub off on you in the same way that bad traits can start to rub off on you if you're around bad people, or I don't want to say bad people, but people not making the best decisions or choices. But your thoughtfulness and generosity has rubbed off on me in such a way to where it is starting to become just second nature to me, to where I'm like, oh, well, do you need anything? Or is there anything I can do? Or, how can I help? And I'm grateful for that in you. I'm grateful for that trait in you because it's just not something that my family instilled in me. And, I had a great family, but they only know what they know and they can only do what they can do, right?
Right.
So then the people that are around you that you make your family, those friends that become family, you want to make sure that they have those qualities and those traits that you would want to take on, because you have a lot of those. And I appreciate you for, always, because you have, okay, so let me go back a little bit. You have some people where they'll say, well, she wouldn't do that for me, so I ain't, you know what I mean? Well, she wouldn't think about me. What am I? And you were never that way. You were never that way. You were always generous, regardless of whether I reciprocated that or not. And I think being able to see that in you over all these years is what made me start to pick up that trait, because I would sit back, whether you would think that I would see it or not. There were times where I would be like, dang, when you would do something or bring me something just randomly, like, oh, I was thinking about you, I was in the area, I brought you this coffee, I know you like coffee from this place. And it would make me sit and think, well, dang, I remember when I went to her apartment the other week, I could have asked if she needed something, or I noticed she likes this certain candle I could have brought her a candle for a new apartment. You know what I mean? So it just makes you sit and think when you see all these good characteristics in a person. It makes you want to take those things on. So I appreciate you for always being a consistent friend and being yourself, and not allowing the fact that your characteristics may not have been reciprocated, right? Because I see a lot of times that you are that way in all your friendships, and a lot of times it's not reciprocated. But you don't let that harden your heart and who you are as a person. You continue to be yourself. So I appreciate that about you.
Well, I appreciate you for saying that, Lon, sister. And I think one thing I do realize, as a function of my mom's generous, I always see her my whole life. She's been very, very generous, and also I think. The thing is, I would see things with my mom, but I feel like the thing I loved about my mother, Oprah, my godmother, is that she would give me the words. You know what I'm saying? Like she would help me understand. And generosity is just a thing where if you understand your source to be God or the universe or whatever you call the higher power that you believe in, then you understand like the power of generosity is that when I give it, the Bible says God gives seed to the sower. And so if I give it this way and it don't come back from this way, it always comes back. And I think that's why I always end up testifying. I will call you and someone be happy, like, girl, a check came. Because I was unemployed for like a couple years back. And I would just kind of be like, a check came. Or I checked the comptroller's website and it said I had an unclaimed check for like a certain amount of money, happened to be a certain amount of money that I needed. And there's just always been in my life this through line of God just providing, and to the point where people will tell me things that I did. Like you told me one day, you were like, sister, you remember when we was in college? I used to get your refund check.
She would get her refund check in college, y'all, and we would go to the mall, and she would buy like, my sister, what do you want?
You want an outfit?
You want an outfit?
Because she at the mall with me. Her daddy paying her tuition, so she ain't got no extra. It's just, I'm out here on the refund check like I'm Big Bang Hank at the Gallo trying to get a little outfit before we went out for the weekend, trying to get some shoes for the semester, whatever I'm finna get. But if you with me, like, come on, get an outfit. But I didn't remember that till you told me like some years ago.
I always remember.
I don't really remember, but fast forward. And just a month ago, when I get all my student loans forgiven, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could be a person that say, well, this mine, and you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to go get mine and get me and me. And at the end of the day, you miss the opportunity to bless the people around you, which should be the point of receiving anyway. But then the other part of that is, like, you just never know. Girl, that whole student loan gone. All them outfits forgiven. Look what God has done. Huh? Bless somebody.
But won't he do it?
But at the end of the day, I will say too, to the opposite of that point, and then we can move on to the next part, is that your gentleness has rubbed off on me. And so I say Tish has a bark because, she'll talk, like, but at the end of the day, even when I watch how gentle you are, even when my brother, we'd be FaceTiming or something, even if my brother comes in the room and you just, baby, you headed to work? Okay, well, I got your lunchbox by the thing, and I put this in. Okay, you need anything else? Okay. And I feel like when it came to your relationship with men, you were always that way. Like you're gentle and you're soft and you're sweet, and maybe even more generous with men than maybe you were with women.
Yes.
Now that I think about it, that just came to me as we talked about it. But that sweetness and that, that you catch more bees with honey thing, I'm like, hey man, look, Your lunch in there, my boy. See you later. No, just fine.
Yeah,
I have though, and I thought about you when I FaceTimed you the other day because I'd had a conversation with somebody, and there's points in conversations where I know I get ready to draw my sword because something doesn't make sense that you're saying. I'm about to chop it down. But as I've been maturing and growing, I thought to myself the other day, I said, Tish will be proud of me. Like I had just had a conversation, and I was on the phone for a while with someone, and it was certain points where you could pull out your logic stick. But I said, I'm going to seek to understand, and I'm just going to stay. And we ended up having a really good conversation because, you know, I feel like over the years, it has rubbed off on me the fact that people are doing the best that they can.
Yes.
And everybody's on their own journey. And like, it helps. It helps you to take a more relaxed approach to people, even if they need to stay over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Sometimes it's not necessary to go through with your red correction pen. Sometimes it's not necessary.
I was an English teacher. That's exactly what I used to do. Yeah.
It's not necessary sometimes. And I've seen that in you, you know, just trying to take on a more gentle approach. And then you also said something, what you were just saying about the gentleness towards men. I think, again, having to do with how you were raised. You know what I mean? Being in a house with men. I was raised with my dad and my uncles. So that was what I saw. I saw men being gentle with me. I was the only girl in the house. And then I returned that gentleness. I was not around a lot of women growing up. And so, you know, that's not where my generosity was aimed towards, you know, women. And so it was just always easier for me. But, you know, when you have people around you that can take into account how you were raised and the things that you took on, you know, from when you were young, you can see past their actions to really see who the person is, to see who they are.
That requires so much connection because for me and you, we're able to now at this big age sit and like look past the behavior patterns. Like, but we've also individually, I've done my therapy, you've done your therapy, we've done our individual work to the point where I could say, you know what I realized when this, and I wonder does that have to do with because you were raised like that or because I saw this, that I did this, or my dad was like, And when I see, you know, you with your dad has always been more gentle in his approach. And my dad is like, big dog run and little dog sit on the porch. So, but it, even though the approaches are different, I can see how, you know what I mean? Over the years, how we talk about things, but it's because our depth of knowledge of each other that we're able to draw connections. And then now we're parenting and we're starting to have those conversations. Like, I wonder how this is going to be because I am.
I don't know. It made me laugh because so like my dad and I will still go on dates every now and then. Like I'll take him out to eat. He'll take me out to eat, whatever. But he doesn't let me touch doors. He doesn't let me touch my car door. Even if I'm driving, like he's gonna open the door. When we go into an establishment, he's gonna open the door. So I have two sons, right? So quite naturally, they open doors. And so when my niece, Stephanie's daughter, when she's with us, they open the door for her. And initially she was just kind of like, I can open my own door. And I'm like, no, baby, we don't.
She was offended because she was like, I'm a big girl. No, I can open it. I can open it just like they can. And she had to be socialized into understanding. It's okay that you can do, that even though you can do things, you don't always have to do it.
You don't have to. And now, let my son not open the door for her.
She had an attitude the last time. Katie, I turned around and I said, what's going on? She was in the back of the car. She said, well, Katie didn't open the door for me. And I said, oh my God. She already act like Tish anyway.
That's because she's really my child. She's really mine.
And then she'll do something and say, send this to TT.
Yep.
Anyway, but I just feel like now it's like we've gone through these different iterations in our friendship, different seasons, to now we're looking at our kids and how we're raising them and being mindful of so many things that a lot of millennial parents are in terms of how our impact really impacts them emotionally, psychologically, like all of these different things. And so it's been a blessing, you know, but I want to know if you were going to give any advice. You know, there's a lot of women that say, you know, I don't deal with women and these women and they this and that. And they might have had some terrible experiences, honestly. Some people are doing friendships by way of their ego. Even when that means there's a new phenomenon going on that I see on socials where I feel like people are choosing friends aesthetically, where it's like people, like they all look the same and they have the same like Kim Kardashian aesthetic and they're all like kind of dressed the same and like pose the same. And I'm like, what is this? But if you had to say any word of advice for somebody who, whether they've had friendship hurt or whatever, anything you would offer to them in terms of how, like people comment on our stuff sometimes and they'd be like, I wish I had friends like that. Like, what do you say to those people?
To building friendships like that. I would say that it starts with understanding who you are as a person. It's really hard to intertwine yourself with another person if you don't understand who you are and how you interact and how you react to certain situations. That, hold on, it's on Do Not Disturb.
Because
so it
Tish will say, and the reason why I'm laughing at this is because
let's turn this
Tish will say, like even meeting new people, like there's something like you had a newer friend that said something to you one time, and I was like, no, that's not gonna be, that's not how. It's not gonna work.
Yeah,
it's not how it's gonna work. She's gonna say no.
Yeah,
and she's not gonna do that.
I'm not gonna. Well, and so here's the thing. So to back up to what you were saying like I was a lot more selfish. Now I've been able to, through therapy and just reflection and self-work, I've been able to work on that. But one of the things that I don't ever regret about myself is that I've always known who I was, what I liked and what I didn't like, right? So now, and I feel like that's something that's rubbed off on you too, because Stephanie will take so much onto her plate. She'll do so much to where I'm like, girl, you need to tell them no.
I was a type A people pleaser. I'm recovering now.
You need to say no.
Yeah, but that was another way about how I was socialized when I was raised in Black church, that the value in you as a woman comes from how much you do for other people, how much you take on, how much you do it, and they'll give you a trophy. They won't even give you no trophy. They'll just watch you have diabetes and get 500 pounds and fall down and be like, yes, she is the teacher of the year. And even without you taking care of yourself. And I remember during COVID, one time you was on the Peloton, everybody had Pelotons during COVID. And Kaden came in there trying to say something to you, and you said, it's mommy's time. Right now, I'm getting my workout in, and I will get back to it. And I always felt like, for a lot of us, we've had to learn that. But the reason we had to unlearn the values that were placed upon us to go fix the world and fix our communities and fix our churches and advocate and run for office and do all of these things outside, even if we had to betray ourselves to do it. And I think you being able to be true to who you are is a big whoop whoop to, your dad and how he raised you, because what he did was, and I know this now because we friends and we've shared our lives so much, is that no matter what you had going on, even in those stupid toxic relationships and whatever was going on, he always made you feel like whatever is going on, I love you and I accept you as you are. Yep. And when you've been raised with that ethos, it's different than an ethos of I love and accept you if you do what I tell you to do, when you do what's right, when you're a good girl, I love you. If you're not, I can't believe it. You know what I'm saying? And so the love should be unconditional, but you always feel like it has to be earned. And that's the difference.
Yep. And he never did. It didn't matter what the mistake was. His response was, I love you and I'm here. Yeah. It didn't matter what it was. And we could just get vulnerable on here. I remember, I don't know when was it in college? Was it maybe my sophomore year? Sophomore or junior year?
Because we played sophomore year.
So it was maybe going into junior year. And I found out that I was pregnant. And I called my dad and I told him. And he said, well, baby, regardless of what you decide, I'm going to be here for you. You are the first person in our family to go to college. So I'm proud of you regardless. You've gotten further than any of us ever have. So he said, whether you decide to have it or whether you decide not to, I'm going to be here for you regardless. And I remember going home that weekend, because I just need to be with my daddy. I remember going home, and of course, the family knows, and they're like, well, we don't do that. We don't have abortions, and that's not what we do. If we get pregnant, we have our kids. Uh-oh, I think I hit my mic. When we get pregnant, we have our kids. And my daddy said, baby, you do what's right for you. and just know that I'm going to have your back regardless of what you choose to do. So he let me know early on. It didn't matter what my mistake was. It didn't matter, what I chose to do. His love was going to be unconditional, and he was going to be there for me. And so in turn, it helped me to realize, one, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm also going to live in my truth, and I'm going to be who I am. And you can either love me or you cannot, because I've had that example of what it looks like to make decisions that weren't that great and to still have people that have my back and who love me. So either you're going to be here or you're not. And if you choose not to, that's okay with me.
And love removes the shame. Love allows you to be able to say, man, I made this decision. Man, I did this. Man, this happened, this happened, this happened. But that you understand the ethos of love still holds you. And I think that is the ultimate. When I say my religion is love, when I talk about religion and I talk about how anything that don't look, I don't care if I go to a church and there's a person that's been at the church for 55 years and they sit up and gossip and talk down, and I say it's not godly because it ain't love. And that's not what love does. You know what I mean? And love sustains and it holds you. And I think you experiencing that kind of love. And it's funny you use that as an example, because our freshman year in college, on April Fool's Day, I called my daddy. Is this my camera? I called my daddy on April Fool's Day, freshman year in college, and I said, Dad, I was just calling you because I just wanted to let you know that I think I might be pregnant. And it was a long pregnant pause. And then my daddy said, well, apparently if you calling me, it ain't because you think you might be pregnant. And then we both paused. And then I said as fast as I could, April Fools, there was nothing good about to come from this conversation. This joke was over. And immediately after I said April Fools, he told me, April Fools, huh? And I started laughing. April Fools. I'm still mad. Let me get off this phone. You done pissed me off, called me, talk about da-da-da-da. And immediately, like, I know it was just a joke, but I also know if I ever had to call my daddy and tell him that when I was in college, like, again, when you feel like you have to be perfect and you feel like you have to, the thing that it also does, and this is why friendship is so important, because how you were raised is here and your experiences. And then you're looking at somebody else across the way and their experiences. And if you've been raised to believe that in order for God to love you and in order to be accepted by your parents, like you have to be perfect, then you're checking your boxes because that's what you need to do. And I need to graduate in college in 4 years, and I did. And I went every summer and took summer classes, and I was the president of SPB, and then I was the stepmaster for Delta, and I'm checking all my boxes. And then I had a boyfriend that loved me, that wanted to marry me when I graduated. And I had all of these things. Even when I got ready to get married, I did not have sex until on my wedding night with my husband. And then you think, and you've been socialized to believe all of these things need to be true for you to be loved and for you to be accepted. And then you look across the way at somebody that can make mistakes and somebody that does, like, is not checking the boxes, and they're okay.
Right.
Life is okay. It helps you understand that whatever you've been told and whatever you've accepted as true, when you do life with a friend, like, you get to look over, you get to talk about things, and you get to experience, and you get to understand that maybe there's more to life than like how you've been socialized and raised and whatever. And I think that's the beautiful thing, that you can still hold each other and grow together and look up and say, like, wow, when we look back, we really come a long way, but we got so much further to go. When we talk about those things too, it almost makes me so excited to be like, and we get to do those things as well. And it's going to be a great time, you know. But I think about a woman or women that like, I ain't telling nobody my business. And if you have them around your man, they'll try to take it. I could not think of a thing I'd rather hang myself from a shower rod.
Can you not?
than ever. Huh?
Like, Stephanie will come to my house whether I'm there or not. She has access to my house. She has access to my children. She is always welcome in my home, whether I'm there or not. And I do not ever think, oh my gosh, is she at home with Chris? Well, are they going to?
Yuck. Yuck.
It's never crossed my mind. But not to say that there aren't women in the world that will do that, but that's the importance of knowing the people that you have around you. And also, I know that we have to wrap up, but the importance of seeking to understand, right? We are all raised differently. We will all have different experiences. But when you take a step back, release the judgment, and you take a moment to really understand this person that you are considering to be your friend, I think a lot of things will start to fall into place and it'll make a lot more sense. And not thinking that your way of being brought up or your way of handling things is the rule.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just a portion of what has happened. That's your life, but everybody else has different experiences. So yours is not the golden rule, or what am I trying to say? The
standard.
The standard.
You're not the moral majority.
Yes.
And we're looking at what are the shared values.
Yes.
And so I would offer somebody, consider the shared values, because I don't care if you meet a woman that's of a different faith background or no faith background. What are the values? And for us, we have always had these shared values. Like, we wanted to strive and we wanted to go into education and like make things better. And like, we've always had these shared values, and that includes how we show up for each other. Like, we've always wanted to be a better friend. And I think you encounter people that make decisions based on their ego and it's all about them and what they can get out of something. And then you have relationships that are rooted in love. And so I'm blessed to say that our friendship has been that God has blessed us. We pray together. We've cried together. When I had my miscarriage, it was you and my friends that came over with buckets of chicken and we sat in the bed. And so, you know, all those mountains and valley seasons, I'm just, I pray that God give us more, all the years more, but also for anybody that's watching that really wants to cultivate those friendships, or that's scared, or maybe there's somebody you need to repair a relationship with because y'all do need to have an uncomfortable conversation. I'd offer to you, like, let this be a sign to you today. There's somebody you know that loved you, and maybe y'all fell out and it was something stupid. Like, be willing to put your ego aside, which is what I feel like we've had to do with uncomfortable conversations, and be like, hey, we gotta talk about this. I don't like that. I don't like when you do that. Well, I don't like how you said that. Well, I said that because you did that. Well, da 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 da. And then we hug it out. Maybe sometimes we cry.
Most of the time.
Doesn't happen often though. Because we keep it, you know, it's all love. So anyway, I want to thank my special guest again. We'll probably have to come back for a part 2, y'all, because it's so much when we start getting down through there every time. But this is how our conversations go. We'll talk for 2-3 hours, and husband will be like, y'all still on the phone? It's a lot to talk. It's life. Right? But until next time, I pray that the friendships that you have, that you nurture them, that you love on your people, that you give them their flowers while they're alive, and that you just continue to see the divinity in other people. Until next time, namaste, y'all. Thanks, Natalie.